You would think an animal this obsessed with eating would grab anything green, but capybaras are surprisingly picky. About 75% of their diet comes from just 3 to 6 plant species. Wet season means fresh grasses and aquatic plants. Dry season means reeds, grains, and whatever still has calories. They actively skip plants that lose nutritional value between seasons, only eating them at peak quality. That is a level of strategic meal planning that would impress a professional nutritionist. Their diet is strange enough on its own, but it has absolutely nothing on how they handle social situations. Because this is where capybaras went from weird to world famous. Every animal on Earth wants to be their friend. Groups of 10 to 20 capybaras stick together during normal times. When the dry season chokes water sources down to a few remaining ponds, those numbers explode to 40, 50, sometimes over 100 animals packed around whatever puddle is left. Males fight for the top spot through scent marking, chasing, and vicious bites to the backside of anyone who challenges them. Females operate on a completely different system. Mother capybaras run a communal daycare where any lactating female in the group will nurse and protect pups that are not even hers. That kind of cooperation barely exists in the rodent world, and it gives capybara babies a much better shot at survival. Now, here's the part nobody expects. Most people assume capybaras are silent, chill creatures that just sit there looking unbothered. That could not be more wrong. Danger triggers a bark that sounds exactly like a dog. Contentment brings out a purr you would swear came from a cat. And when they get excited, they produce this rapid clicking noise that people have genuinely compared to laser beams. Baby capybaras emit a constant guttural purr just to stay connected to the herd. When a whole group decides to move at once, they erupt into a chirping chorus that sounds more like songbirds than rodents. These animals have an entire language that most people have no idea exists. But none of that is why the internet lost its mind over them. Capybaras get along with literally everything on Earth. Birds land on their backs and pick ticks from their fur, getting a free meal while the capybara gets a spa day. Monkeys sit on them like chairs, turtles sunbathe beside them on the riverbank. And then you see the photos that break your brain. Capybaras lounge shoulder to shoulder with caimans and crocodiles, predators that actively hunt them, looking about as stressed as someone waiting for coffee. So, how does a prey animal sit next to its own predator and survive? Researchers believe capybaras are so non-aggressive and non-territorial that predators do not even register them as a threat, and their thick, coarse skin makes them a less tempting meal than smaller prey. People started calling them living furniture because every other species treats them like a park bench with a heartbeat. That reputation made them an internet darling, but it also turned them into the accidental stars of one of the strangest political battles South America has seen in decades. They invaded a millionaire neighborhood and won. Nordelta is not just any gated community. It is one of the most exclusive in all of Argentina. A 1,600-hectare luxury compound north of Buenos Aires, where roughly 40,000 people live, behind security gates, surrounded by mansions, perfect lawns, and a famous soccer player's estate. Residents paid a fortune to live in what developers sold as nature meets luxury. Then in 2021, around 400 capybaras showed up, some weighing over 130 pounds, and destroyed the fantasy. Lawns got shredded overnight, flower beds turned to dirt, family dogs got bitten, and capybaras wandered across roads causing traffic accidents. Some residents reportedly pulled out guns before wildlife officials stepped in and ordered everyone to stand down. But ecologist Enrique Viale flipped the whole story. Nordelta was built in the late 1990s, directly on top of Parana River wetlands, some of the most important river habitats in South America. The capybaras were not invading. They were reclaiming what was already theirs. Sebastian DiMartino, conservation director at Rewilding Argentina, explained why the population blew up. Every major capybara predator in the region is virtually extinct. Jaguars, pumas, foxes, wildcats, and wild dogs are all virtually extinct in that region. Without anything to hunt them or even scare them, capybaras eat all day, breed all year, and fear nothing. The population had already jumped 17% in a single year, and DiMartino warned it could eventually hit 3,000 animals. Social media turned the crisis into a political event. Argentinians declared the capybaras class warriors, reclaiming stolen wetland from the wealthy. Memes flooded every platform showing furry revolutionaries storming the gates of the rich. Environmentalists seized the moment to expose how luxury development destroys entire ecosystems. By 2022, officials were consulting biologists on coexistence plans, even floating vasectomy programs for the males, because culling and relocation were both politically dead. That story alone would be enough to crown capybaras the strangest animal alive. But their actual history goes back millions of years, to a time when their relatives made the modern capybara look like a puppy. Their extinct cousin was the size of a small car. At 170 pounds, today's capybara already seems impossibly large for a rodent. But millions of years ago in South America, there was a relative that would have made a capybara run for the water. Its name is Joseph o Artigagia monesi, and its skull sat collecting dust in a Uruguayan museum storage room for over 20 years, before anyone figured out what they had been sitting on. Paleontologists pulled it out of the ground in 1987, but researchers Andres Rinderknecht and Ernesto Blanco did not describe the species until 2008, when they published their findings in Proceedings of the Royal Society B. When the numbers came back, they changed everything scientists thought they knew about rodents. The skull alone measured 53 centimeters long, about the same size as a cow skull. Body length topped 8 feet. Standing height reached roughly 5 feet, taller than a lot of people alive today. And weight estimates landed at around 1,000 pounds, with some models hitting 2,500. A rodent heavier than most horses, with a bite force of over 900 pounds at the molars, according to a 2015 study in the Journal of Anatomy. That matches a large crocodilian. Scientists believe it used those massive front teeth the way an elephant uses tusks, ripping through soil for roots and fighting off saber-toothed cats and terror birds during the Pliocene epoch, roughly 2 to 4 million years ago. So what wiped them out? About 3 million years ago, the Isthmus of Panama connected North and South America for the first time. New predators and competing herbivores flooded south in what scientists call the Great American Interchange. Global temperatures dropped simultaneously, drying out the wetlands these massive rodents depended on. Crushed between new threats and disappearing habitat, giants like Joseph o Artigagia went extinct. The capybara survived as one of the only living links to that lost era, carrying a genetic line that stretches back millions of years. That would be a wild enough ending for any animal. But the Catholic Church added one final twist that nobody could have predicted. The Catholic Church officially declared them fish. Between the 1500s and 1700s, Spanish missionaries landed in Venezuela and noticed two things immediately. Local communities ate a ton of capybara, and capybaras spent most of their lives in water, had webbed feet, and their meat carried a salty, fishy flavor from all the aquatic plants they consumed. With Lent on the horizon, 40 days when Catholics cannot eat meat but can eat fish, the clergy faced a dilemma. The meat was too good to give up. The rules were too strict to ignore. So they found a loophole that still has not been closed over 300 years later. A letter went to the Vatican describing a strange aquatic creature with webbed feet that tasted like fish and practically lived underwater. Could the Pope classify it as a fish? The Vatican, which had never actually laid eyes on a capybara, said yes. The Catholic Church approved the request, and overnight, the largest rodent on Earth became a fish on paper. The reasoning was not completely insane. Medieval Lent restrictions had nothing to do with mammals versus fish. They were about land versus water creatures. If an animal spent most of its life in water, it counted as aquatic and was fair game during fasting. Beavers got the exact same treatment in Quebec when the local bishop asked the Sorbonne to classify them as fish, and French theologians agreed without hesitation. That ruling turned capybara into the most popular Lent dinner in all of Venezuela, and it has stayed that way for over 3 centuries. Demand skyrocketed so fast that poaching nearly wiped out entire local populations. The meat, known locally as chiguire, is dried in sea salt before serving, which actually gives it an even fishier taste and made the Vatican's call feel almost reasonable. Government regulation and the capybara's fast reproduction eventually brought numbers back, but Venezuelans and Colombians still eat capybara every single Lent. And the part that makes this whole story perfect? The Vatican never reversed the ruling. As of 2026, the Catholic Church still officially classifies the capybara as a fish, a barrel-shaped, poop-eating, crocodile-befriending, mansion-invading 170-pound rodent, whose ancient cousin outweighed a horse, is, according to the oldest religious institution in the Western world, technically a fish. Capybaras break every rule about what an animal should be, and they do it all without looking even slightly bothered. If you want to see another animal that completely defies everything science thought it knew, hit the subscribe button and tap that video on your screen right now.